not going to sound like it. So when my two eldest sons were little, they loved wrestling, fake wrestling, right? World Wrestling
Right.
Entertainment wrestling. And so I splurged one weekend and I bought us tickets to see wrestling at Madison Square Garden. So we go and we're watching these guys smash chairs over each other's heads and jump and land on tables and smash the table. And I said to my eldest son, who, I mean, now he's 33, but at the time he was, I guess, 9 or 8 years old. I said, buddy, I don't get it. Which one is the good guy? And he said, that's just it, Dad. There is no good guy. That was the situation in Syria. It's possible to just have a situation where there is no good guy. And so what you do is you support the least bad guy. Bashar al-Assad had a lot of problems, right? He was a dictator. He was the son of a dictator. He used a heavy hand against his own people. But he was the only thing standing between the Christian community of Syria and complete annihilation. And so we decided we didn't like his politics. And we worked with the Israelis and the Turks to throw him out. And now he's in exile. So who takes over Syria but the former deputy leader of ISIS, who apparently was chosen by the CIA? It leads me to believe he was probably a paid CIA agent, but we can talk about that at some other point. And there's a genocide against Christians. So why the short-sighted policies coming out of the United States? If we're supposed to be so Christian, so pro-Christian, we talk about Judeo-Christian values, and then we support the wholesale slaughter of the world's original Christians. I'm just not understanding, where the disconnect comes from. When we come back, we will have more with the hosts of Redacted. I'm John Kiriakou, and this is The Deep State. Stay right there. We're joined back again today by our guests, Natalie and Clayton Morris. They're the hosts of the hit show Redacted. There's a video that's going around on TikTok and other platforms right now. It's a young woman who's an American evangelical Christian, and she goes to Israel for the very first time. And she starts saying things like, Israel, Israel. And a group of young Jewish boys walks up to her and they spit right on her, spit right in her face. And she wipes it off and she says, holy spit, Israel spit, it's holy, it's okay. And then she goes into the old city, and she's got a microphone, and she's trying to interview people about, isn't Israel great? Over to you. And a teenager takes a backpack and just smashes her in the head with the backpack. And she starts crying. She's like, why are they doing this to me? I love Israel. Why? Why are they doing this? It's like, lady, don't you get it? They don't care about you. They only care about them. There's no room for you in Israel.
It's like a form of Stockholm syndrome in a way.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like, you can just continue to beat us down, and we're just going to continue to kiss your ass. We'll continue to do your bidding. You can send your prime minister to Washington, D.C. for the 7th time. We'll take your money. We'll do everything. You can buy our American businesses. You can take over TikTok. We'll hand that to you. And then when we go there, and you'll treat us like garbage, but it's okay. You're allowed to treat us like garbage. That's fine. Just keep treating us like garbage, and we'll just continue to take it. At some point, someone's going to snap.
Yeah, that's right. I have to ask you about that too, about sort of taking over. Why is it, do you think, that a country as small as Israel is able to exert such outsized influence, not just in politics? We've had that conversation 1,000 times. Not just in American politics, but in American business, in entertainment, in banking, even in the defense industries. You know, we either give or sell Israel anything it wants, anything at all. And the Israelis have very close and abiding relations with most of the major American defense contractors. Why?
I mean, this is something that's plagued me, and if you go back and read John Mearsheimer's The Israel Lobby,
Yes.
and you at least try to understand how over decades this grew and grew and grew, and there were politicians like John F. Kennedy, for instance, who certainly didn't want this and were kind of openly against it. They wind up dead, of course. So I think I don't know. I think the money, follow the money at the heart of it, right? Follow the money and the influence inside of Washington, and realize that almost every politician in Washington, to Thomas Massey's credit, when he admitted that everyone has like an AIPAC handler, someone who funnels money to them, makes sure that they're on message. And then when you realize then that the defense industry has factories, manufacturing.
Yes.
One thing I learned years ago, and I think it's grown tremendously since I learned it, but the idea that a lot of the defense manufacturing sits in the backyard. They very strategically built little weapons parts factories in different parts of the country. So Boeing doesn't just have their main Boeing operations center, but they have this little piece that's built over here, and they build it in the back of. So they've spread themselves all across the United States so that they're essentially in the backyards of almost every politician.
That's right.
So that every politician can say, Boeing's in my backyard, I've got to protect them. It benefits the weapons industry, but it also represents my district. Well, how many districts? Because they've spread themselves Honeywell, Northrop Grumman, all of these like little divisions all across the United States. So that's one big piece of it. And then every member of Congress takes money and influence and works with AIPAC. So the money flows in and it flows right back out. And it's all one big money laundering operation, and they're all benefiting from it. And there are very few who aren't benefiting from it. And if they aren't, then they're cast out. I mean, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or, Matt Gaetz or Congressman Thomas Massey, look the hell that he's going through right now, being, trying to be primaried. So I think it's a massive money laundering operation at the heart of it. That's how I see it, and it just flows back. So just follow the money, follow the weapons.
And I also think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Natalie.
Go ahead, please.
No, please.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I learned recently that it's even deeper than just that. I have a friend who got a call from a Texas state senator, and he said, "Hey, we'd like to do a resolution, a state senate resolution naming such and such a date as John Smith Day." He said, "It's pro forma. We do about 140 of these a year, where you're going to get a proclamation with the big seal of Texas and the governor's signature, and it's going to be, your day." He said, "Oh, great, okay." So a couple of weeks pass, and this state senator calls back and he says, "Listen, that John Smith Day, that's not going to happen." And he said, "Why? You said it was pro forma." And the state senator said, "The AIPAC lobbyist objected to it." And I said, "Wait a minute, they have AIPAC lobbyists in the state capitals for the state legislatures?" And he said, "Not just in the state capitals. They have lobbyists all over America. They're lobbying in local city council elections. Maybe you're running for the water board of whatever city, or the garbage commission of whatever city you happen to be living in, and there are AIPAC lobbyists, even at that level."
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I'm not surprised, though, at all. I mean,
Wow.
You can see that's where real politics is born, right at the local level, at the school board level.
right.
In your mayoral races. That's the influence. That's how, for instance, we're in the state of Colorado. Like, everyone should read how the state of Colorado went from being a red state to a blue state, and it was all done specifically at the local level. and with the ad spend, the targeted ad spend in these specific races. And now, Colorado is by all accounts a blue state. On election night, it immediately, as soon as they called it, hey, Colorado polls are closed, they immediately called it for Kamala Harris. It's unbelievable. In a landslide election for Trump, Colorado went blue, but it all happened in the local elections.
Yeah. When you study, if I were to submit a term paper about this, the hypothesis would be that the sort of communist Zionist infiltration of the U.S. government happened very early. When you study the movement that became McCarthyism, McCarthy was right. There were Soviet communist spies working inside the State Department. He did not make that up.
Right.
He got that from a State Department report that you cannot find on National Archives, and he was excoriated from it. Even though the FBI had corroborating files, Hoover hung him out to dry, but Hoover himself had been taking this to the White House, and it had been ignored. Why? Why this communist infiltration? And then you look at, there's a book called The Iron Curtain Over America by John Beatty, who was a State Department representative. He worked for the State Department, and he was warning that a lot of these communists in the 50s, and who also were Zionists, were converting to Judaism in order to make this claim that related to Zionism. And he said, he compared it to someone converting to a Native American religion and saying that gives me claim to the United States. It doesn't, right? And so it has, and so if I were, again, like I would need a little bit more time to flesh out this term paper, but I think that I can trace it through early American politics, and it's a long game. And I think we're seeing the fruits of it because it's such a long game. And, it's brilliant, if not destructive.
Natalie and Clayton, thanks very much for being with us today. And thank you for watching. This is The Deep State. I'm John Kiriakou. We'll see you next time.